Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us.
Hello, welcome to Tuesday Nights on Deck, brought to you by Coast to Coast Entertainment Network. And tonight we're joined by a couple fellas here, and our usual guest and a special guest. So I don't know where Greg went, but all right. Well, anyways, below me we got Coach D. How's it going, Coach?
How's it going? I forgot my password for Facebook, so I had to reset everything. Anyway, there's Greg doing his usual quick disappear, come back act. But
all right.
So yeah, how's it going, guys?
Going good. How about you, man? How's it going, Greg?
It's going pretty good. Every time I watch that Suzanne's Paparazzi, then you get them on and I can't hear anything, and then I gotta go back and get back on.
Oh, okay.
Greg, the trick is you gotta buy something from her. So much jewelry. It's amazing. She has good prices.
Yeah, no, she definitely does. And then next to myself is our guy behind the stage, the backstop of the group, Crispy Bacon. How's it going?
Going good. How's everybody doing tonight?
Yeah, we're doing good. And then joining us is Callum McClure. A couple weeks ago, and we'll get into it, he got to live out a dream of his. But Callum, how's it going, bud?
It's going good, Big B. Good to see all the guys here and talk some ball tonight. Let's do this thing.
Yeah, exactly. Finished up the All-Star break, so I don't think the game was that interesting. I don't think we can go. American League won 3-2, I think it was. Mm-hmm. Buxton should have been the MVP, but whatever. No, I'm just kidding. So, Callan, since you're the guest, why don't you you rep the Padres? So, what's up with the Padres? What do you expect the second half of the season?
Man, Brandon, there's more and more chatter. Juan Soto's name has been pretty much brought up here over the course of probably since the All-Star break, honestly, here in San Diego. Again, a ball club who's been keeping this, ship somehow together without Fernando Tatis Jr. They've been marred by injuries with the pitching staff in the bullpen. They lose Mackenzie Gore last night in Detroit to what's being called left elbow inflammation, which usually 9 times out of 10 leads to Tommy John surgery. But for them, as I've said for a majority of the season, for them to be able to go out there and on the coattails basically of Manny Machado, Eric Hosmer for a part of the season, but to keep this thing going still. And I know they've kind of fallen off the face of the earth. They're 11.5 behind the Dodgers now, and they're really behind the 8 ball. But still in the thick, though, of a wild card race, now, with this being a 3-team, postseason now for the wild card. I'm still very impressed, though. However, though, now it's getting a little serious now with the whole Juan Soto rumors. We've heard about, Coach D's Mets being involved. We've heard about the Cardinals being involved with them being involved. The Padres may, in fact, be involved. I don't know to what extent, though, because, this kind of, in a way, has been a bit of a distraction. And I actually had texted a buddy of mine who works here in Sports Talk Radio in San Diego during his program today and I threw a, fictional package deal out to the Nationals. Jake Cronenworth, Robert Hassel III, C.J. Abrams, and Mackenzie Gore straight up for Soto, and he right away said, I'm not doing that because Abrams and Gore have too much value despite Gore getting injured. Then I went plan B. how about giving up a couple other people, giving up a couple of guys, but going after like a Wilson Contreras or even an Ian Happ? And he said, that one I would do, but I'm not breaking the bank to do that. So the Soto thing is kind of a thing that's been really talked about here lately in San Diego because of the speculation about him being dealt by the Nationals. I don't know, though, if Washington makes that move, though, because, the club is in the process of being sold. They have the worst record already as is in the game, though. But do you really want to kind of, in a way, do that on the, teetering on being sold, but also the return would have to be great, though. And I still think the Padres have got to find somebody out there to take on part of Eric Hosmer's salary, because sadly, he's the reason why the Padres lose to Detroit last night. He makes an error on a routine ground ball hit directly at him. It leads to a 5-run inning for the Tigers, and they poured it on and beat the Padres 12-4 at Comerica Park. And a very, interesting stat I heard today leading up to the game tonight in Detroit. The Padres, in their history, have never won in Detroit. They lost all 3 games there in the 84 World Series. They've not won a game at Comerica Park since it opened up in 2000. And they're 0-7, and they're looking to break that 7-game skid across a long time for franchise history. But I guess in a nutshell, though, if there's any light at the end of a tunnel for the Padres, Fernando Tatis Jr. took his first batting practice reps today, live BP. It wasn't really a full-blown 100% swing. Dennis Lynn shared video today on Twitter. It looked like it was about an 80% swing, but it was still very fluid. His mechanics look good, though. He really hasn't had a lot of pain since he's been able to swing the bat lately. So that's promising. I still don't know, though, if he's going to have a very humongous impact like it would have been earlier in the season, but he certainly, can at least take a bit of weight off Manny Machado's shoulders when he comes back. But again, he won't be the same player, so I expect him to probably DH for a bit. I hope he gets out to rehab games fairly soon, though. But, a lot of Soto talk here in San Diego. A lot of, names like Contreras and Happ have popped up. Brian Reynolds has popped up, though. But I'm getting a little bit – I'm kind of teetering on being concerned, though, because you guys all saw what happened to this club last season, where guys' names were in trade rumors, and it basically broke the team's morale and broke the camel's back. Because you had, Machado and Tatis have their shouting match in the dugout in St. Louis last season. The whole starting rotation got injured at the same time last season. I mean, you're counting on Jake Marisnick and Vince Velasquez and Daniel Hudson to kind of, be, scotch tape pieces to bandage up, these wounds that never really healed. And of course, the whole ordeal with Jace Tingler last season. And before I wrap up here, I watch a lot of games with my dad, and him and I, we sit there. I analyze as a broadcaster. He analyzes as being the coach, and he's been coaching for over 30 years here in San Diego at the travel ball level, the high school level, the international stage. And last night we both agreed, though, that was the first time all year that we both agreed that Bob Melvin looked very agitated, and he sounded off on the team last night. He says, when we don't play focused, clean, fundamentally sound baseball, we lose. If our mind's somewhere else, we lose games like that. But when we play clean, fundamentally sound Padre baseball, we win. And he was very, very ticked about how that team played last night. And, maybe it's, and maybe it's kind of like a culmination of things that are kind of coming back from last season with the whole ordeal about, the trade rumors, of Hosmer, maybe, this guy is going to go. Prospects may go because, Soto's name's been involved there. But, I think, though, if there's one blessing in disguise, though, Bob Melvin's the right guy to keep this team on track, though. And he's not going to sugarcoat things, though. I've noticed that a lot this season, though. And I think, though, yesterday was a very telling sign, though, that the Padres have the right guy in place to lead this club over the next several years.
All right. So before we move on, Callan, what percent chance you think the Padres have to land Soto?
I think other than St. Louis and maybe Coach D's Mets, I think those are the main 3 teams. I know that the Yankees may be involved and the Dodgers may be involved. I've heard Seattle. I think that they were ranked 1 through 3. I think it was New York, St. Louis, and San Diego. And I would actually buy that because, again, I just don't think that the Padres can really afford to, give the Nationals such a huge overhaul for one piece that they're only going to probably have on the books for 2.5 seasons. Because right now they cannot afford to pay him what he may get because of Machado's deal, Nando's deal, that very, still terrible Hosmer deal that's getting worse and worse by every passing 4-3 ground out or airman in the field, though. So I would, for one, and again, this may sound stupid, among, Padre fan circles, but I am probably one of the very few who says I'm not going to jeopardize the longevity of what I have right now, especially hearing Jake Cronenworth's name being involved there. A guy who's been a very, solid piece at second base. I'm not jeopardizing, part of my major league roster and then gutting perhaps what potentially may be on the farm for 2.5 years of Juan Soto services, though. Now, again, there's been talk of, gut the farm this time around like you did in 2015. I would not be against that. I just don't want anyone on this major league roster, a Gore, a Adrian Morejon, a CJ Abrams, or a Jake Cronenworth being touched at all in this deal, though I know that the Nats would want to get major league ready guys.
Yep.
It kind of in a way, Brandon, it reminds me a little bit of when the Twins dealt Rogers to San Diego for Paddock and for Pagan. Pagan, as I told you, and I gave you a very sadly fair warning, this guy is good, but he's prone to home runs. He's prone to have bad innings. And, of course, Chris Paddock, karma bit him in the rear end, Sally, when he, mocked the Padre uniform change back to brown and gold and called them UPS drivers. He's back in the ninth having Tommy John again. And, it was a great, story that first year with him. But then as more time went on, though, he kept getting in his own head. His brother, who's kind of acting, is kind of like that father figure in his life that was mouthing off to fans on the internet and at games. And, and sadly, he read too much in between the lines, though. And in a way, it's kind of cost him his career.
All right. So moving on to Coach D's Mets. I know this is the time we start talking about the fall. I mean, they're only 2 games up right now, but I think they're 4-0 up on the Yankees right now.
4-2.
4-2. Okay.
4-2 up in the Yankees. The hated evil empire, the Yankees, the Skankmees.
Yes.
I have been in New York. Callan, I live in Dallas now, where Chris is. Okay, where it's 105 degrees. Okay. I know in San Diego, you're like 82. I hope you're not too uncomfortable.
72.
Oh, I am sorry. I didn't
72 and sunny.
That you might have been uncomfortable. I did live in Huntington Beach for 4 years, so I know the weather out there.
Wow.
Yes.
Before I get going with the Mets, I want to touch on what Callan said about Juan Soto. Okay, and in addition, right off the bat, Callan, I hate Eric Hosmer because he beat the Mets weekend, and
I feel your pain, my friend.
In 2015. Okay, honestly, he hasn't been as good with San Diego as he was with Kansas City. I thought he'd be in San Diego. He's not old. I thought, okay, 321 runs.
I thought
defense.
the same exact thing when he first came here. And it was more of a thing, though, Coach, where it was more of a thing of I said, and this doesn't happen a lot here in San Diego. I've seen this for basically my entire life, 28 years, is that not a lot of free agents would look at San Diego and say, you know what? I'm changing the narrative. I'm going to go there and not leave and go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's stuff. But okay, we started off with Juan Soto, and I want to talk about that for a minute, okay? And he's linked with every team. I mean, I've seen the Twins name pop up,
Have you? Because I haven't, thank God.
The thing is, like you said, Callan, you're only getting him for 2.5 years. Now, 2.5 years is a long time.
Yeah.
He might be the guy. If you can get him for just 2.5 years and you win the World Series, it's always worth it. It's always worth it, even if you give up the farm. But that's the problem I'm gonna have. The Mets they got 4 solid prospects that are gonna be in the major leagues in the next 2 years. They've got 10 more that are almost there. They've got a great farm system. I would give one of the prospects and not Francisco Alvarez the catching, but I would hate to give 2. Depends what else was involved, but I think the asking price is going to be so high for Juan Soto. teams are gonna, you got him for 2.5 years, really, and then you're gonna have the negotiation. He's very young, 23 years old, so in 2.5 years he'll be 25, 26. Looks like a great guy, absolute beast in the field and at bat, and yeah, his career could span the next 15 years very, very easily at these numbers, and I think his agent, Scott, the baseball antichrist, Boris, that's his normal name, and he has it on a plaque in his office. Okay. I think, I think he's gunning for $500 million, just to
Easily
have that number. It's going to happen sooner or later. And his asking price for the Nationals, and Callan, you're right, they're selling a team. So what does the new ownership want to be identified with? I read an article earlier in the week, okay, you trade this guy and you get a big handful of prospects, and you could be good in a couple of years, or you keep him and build around him. If you can sign him, you've got 2.5 years left. Why not? The Nationals, they're a popular club. I don't know anything about the new ownership group. Do they have money? Do they like to spend money? You got to like to spend. That's why I love Uncle Stevie. He'll spend money. Okay. And, but yeah, it's a huge question here in Texas. And Chris would agree to this. There's been heavy rumors of Juan Soto coming in here. The Rangers have a good farm system. They got owners that got money. They just spent $500 million for Seager and Simeon. They finally, their bats finally woke up. They're playing
John
well.
Gray.
The Rangers are close to 500. They're a very young team, but they're playing well for what they are. It's a young team going up, not an old team going down. So if you're a Rangers fan, which I am kind of because I live here, it's fun to go to games. It's fun to watch them. They lose a lot of tight games. But Juan Soto, I would rather give up prospects for good pitching. I think the Rangers, what they have in the farm system, their offense is good. They've actually finally got pitching in their farm system. Okay, but the Juan Soto thing, it may not even happen, but
agreed.
Whoever's going to do it, it's going to pay a steep price. I hear New York, I hear the Mets, I hear the Yankees.
Dodgers.
I don't care. Yankees give up, trade him for Judge and Stanton and everybody else. Okay, they can be injured somewhere else. Stanton on the IL 10 days again. Anyway, so that's my little rant about Juan Soto. We could talk about it later.
We'll get to it later.
Right now, the Mets are still up 4-2 on the Yankees, and they've been in a little hitting slump lately. They've held off the Braves.
Oh.
The Braves have played like 900 ball for 2 months. Nobody could sustain that, And anybody thought back on May 31st when the Mets had a 10.5 game lead, if anybody thought that the Braves were just going to go away, they don't know. They're the world champions, and they are a very good team. They lost Freddie Freeman. They picked up Matt Olson. That's like an even swap, Matt Olson's younger too, and they're a good team. They're not going to go away. DeGrom is pitching one more rehab start tomorrow at Syracuse. So far, it's been pretty good. They're being very, very, very careful with him. He pitched last week, and he felt a little soreness in his shoulder when he shut his car door. So and they said, oh, okay, we'll push your rehab start back, and then they're going to have him go again. It's I hope to God when he comes back, he'll be back this weekend sometime, and it'll be August. And man, if he can be Jacob deGrom for 2 months, that would be so freaking awesome. Because the Mets starting pitching has really been good. Scherzer came back; he's solid.
Yep.
Carrasco's pitching tonight. Peterson's been doing well. Bassett's been doing well. Tyler McGill, he's still a few weeks away. I can't wait for him to come back because he was really good for 2 months, And the young studs, the pitchers that have had to come in, Peterson and Trevor May, who's hurt right now, they've been good in spots, but they're very young, and that's what a young pitcher does. Does good, oops. Does good, oops. I think they're in a good spot. I don't think they need Juan Soto would be great, but the Mets, their DH isn't performing well. The catchers can't hit. McCann been injured twice, and he's not even hitting. Nito just can't hit. And everybody's screaming for Alvarez. He's 20 years old, and he got promoted to AAA like 3 years ago. Okay, folks, he's hitting 125. He's 20. Give him a chance, okay? Yep. Don't bring him up to be a DH. He needs to learn how to be a catcher, okay? Because he's very, very raw, okay? You bring him up for one thing and don't let him catch, well, he's not getting any experience. He needs to be in AAA. Bring him up in September, especially if it doesn't matter. Don't bring him up to save the club. More 20-year-olds have been bought up too early than have been bought up and saved the day. Everybody, Mets fans, and this is something I want to talk about fans later on if we have time. Yep. Mets fans are Yankee fans are the same. They're so knee-jerk. It's
all like fans are.
I've coached baseball for 25 years. I have a little bit of patience, so it's just because a guy flashes, he's not the next superstar. Let him learn. He's young. He's 20. He's not 23. He's 20, and a lot of young guys. The Mets have a ton of talent in the farm system. This is the time to be patient. They're going to battle for first place all year. They're not going to fall apart. This team has too much good pitching to go into a slump. They fell apart last year because of injuries. They lost deGrom for the rest of the year. Yeah. And then injuries. Alonso was out. Lindor was out, So I think everything's going great. It's going to be a dogfight pennant race in the National League East for the rest of the year. I'm going to love it. I'd rather them, win by 2 games than cruise by 10 games, because those teams seem to usually not go into the playoffs good. And the stupid Phillies are making noise too, right? They changed managers, right? And it's like, was that the problem? And they don't even have Harper. But anyway, that's my little long-winded rant.
All right. So let's go down to Greg and the Cardinals. What's up?
Well, the past several years, my Cards have been in buying mode shortly after the All-Star break because we've been right there, on the bubble or in playoff contention. So we've been pretty steady. Right now, I think we're about a half a game up right now in the final wild card spot. So we're kind of teetering back and forth kind of with the Phillies. And, I'm getting a little bit nervous because right now we need to really be on the lookout. I've been saying this for the past few weeks. My Cardinals really need to find a hard-hitting outfielder. That's a top priority. And I think ahead of that, we need to be looking at getting a little bit more stability within our starting lineup, our starting pitching rotation. That's just something that's been just kind of hit and miss this season. So I think if we can find somebody out there in the market, that can come in and really give us some good innings and everything, I think that'd really help us. and give us a little bit of breathing room, because right now it's super tight right now. So we're just kind of going back and forth between that last wild card spot right now. So, but as far as the Juan Soto news, I hear that my Cardinals are probably in better contention than most for it.
Nope.
But this is kind of a dangerous situation, I think, because one thing is that my Cardinals have like a top 3 minor league system right now. We have like 6 tier 1 prospects, including Jordan Walker
They
at the top.
always do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we have plenty of prospects to throw our way, throw to the Nationals, but I don't really know if I really want to give all that up. I know that Juan Soto is a generational talent, but and he is only 25, so it's not like we're getting a guy for 3 or 4 good seasons, like the Angels picked up Pujols, when he was like 28, 30, and then
he's 23. Actually,
he's what?
Soto's 23.
Yeah.
So
very young.
If we get him, we would have pretty good stability for 10 years. But man, we have too many prospects. We're on the verge of really building a great future. And I think that if we give up Jordan Walker and some of those top guys, we're kind of we would go from a top farm system to one of the worst, in a matter of days. So I'd love to get Soto, but I think that his price is pretty astronomical. But the one good thing about St. Louis is there's a good market for it, because it's one of the few places in Major League Baseball where the attendance isn't really going down. Attendance is going down on average across the board.
Big time.
But St. Louis seems to be filling the seats though still, so there's still a lot of interest for games and everything. So we might have a good chance as far as a fan base and keeping fans in the stands. But I don't know, this Juan Soto thing and no salary cap in baseball, it's just kind of dangerous. I mean, we're looking at a $500-600 million contract here.
Yep, exactly. No, I totally agree with you, Greg. And Chris, how about your Rangers?
Yeah. I mean, so far we're doing pretty good. It's been a couple, about a week or 2 since the All-Star break, and I just hope we continue kind of getting better.
Adolis is heating up.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. So for my Twins, come off I believe a 2-game series with Tigers. Took them both, I believe. Start off today in Milwaukee. Buxton, the AL MVP for the All-Star game, should have been. Led off the game with a home run. So just keep sticking it to them. So I really hope the Twins aren't in for the Soto trade. I mean, I wouldn't knock it if we got him, but we need more than just Soto. We need pitching, relief pitching, and all that. So I don't see the Twins doing much right now. I'm kind of surprised that they're still in first place. Is way inconsistent baseball they've been playing, but now we're in the second half, so everything's going to start heating up, except for the races that are pretty much over with already. So, but before we move on, Callan a couple weeks ago got to live out a dream most of us, would like to live out or be a part of. So, Callan, we'll let you take the floor here and talk about your dream moment and how it came about.
Yeah, it was very fortunate. You can call it a stroke of luck, but something that fell into my lap. I was very, privileged and blessed to be asked by the Los Angeles Angels to be their fill-in public address announcer at Angel Stadium for a game on July 13th when they played Houston. It was just like a sheer stroke of luck. It
very cool.
It happened to be a game where both their main announcer and their primary backup were unavailable because they were already booked with other events going on. Their main guy is also one of the soccer announcers in Los Angeles County, and the main backup was doing late night television. And by the stroke of luck of having a former hockey boss with the Ducks who moved over to the Angels, and him having my contact info, he called me on like a few days beforehand saying, "Hey, we might need you to fill in for us for a game on the 13th against Houston." And he said, come to the game on Tuesday and just shadow and take notes or whatnot, and just watch the game from the press box, but get acclimated with everything. Then Wednesday the game's all yours. And as soon as I found out that I was going to do the game, I had told my folks, told told a good majority of my friends, and a lot of them actually, like, they had the game, were able to get up to Anaheim from San Diego. It's about 90 miles north, and of course traffic down here is terrible, as anyone may or may not know.
4-hour drive.
But it was definitely a true full circle day. I actually recall best going to see the Angels play I think the first major league game I remember as a 3.5-year-old, going on 4 when they were still the Anaheim Angels in 98 playing the Yankees, as a matter of fact, that day. And, that's kind of where, things fell, that's where my love for the game began. And to be able to, have that full circle opportunity and to work with such a great, casting crew behind the scenes to, work to make everyone's game day experience as fans, better than the last time they came to a game. And, really, and again, I'm saying this not to blow smoke, but again, really, I think a club who's, a real first-class organization with what they've been trying to do, obviously having Ohtani and Trout is one thing, but, just, how that fan base, despite all the lean years that they've had, though, but, they had streaks of 3 million plus fans for a long time before, of course, COVID came and wrecked it. So it was like a 16 or 17, 18-year stretch where the Angels had drawn 3 million fans, and they really do keep their ticket prices affordable. Their parking's affordable. Concessions are pretty affordable. And they really, aim to get, the families out to games on Sundays or in general. And, it was amazing. And to, obviously be able to watch, a major league game from that, that perspective, sitting in the press box and being able to get there early and to watch Trout Trout take batting practice and watch, guys like Altuve take BP and Bregman and, watch those guys just hit, laser shots and batting practice into the, at Angel Stadium. And then, being the one to introduce, Altuve and Bregman and, obviously, the boos, of course, for one thing, but then being able to, introduce Ohtani. And, oh, by the way, the first game I do, it's Ohtani batting leadoff. Oh, and he's the starting pitcher that day, too. And he's out there mowing guys down and whatnot. And he had like a 2-run triple, and they won the game 7-1. So, it was really awesome. And, if there's ever another similar situation where this, sort of, scenario plays out again, I would probably be getting a phone call again and whatnot. So I just have to thank Davin Mask and Mandy Ortiz and the entire Angels organization, their entire game ops and in-game entertainment staff for making the phone call to the bullpen. And it was, it's been 2 weeks, but I still haven't come off cloud 9 yet. It's still very fresh in my mind still, believe me.
No, that's still
Alan. Oh my God. You must have had, were you nervous the first time you went up to the mic?
Yeah, honestly, I was. I was for a bit, kind of just getting those nerves out, because I've been very fortunate to have been able to announce a lot of college baseball here locally. I got to do a high school game actually this year at Petco Park back in April, so that was cool. But it was cool, but wasn't quite that same feel. Like, yeah, it was at my favorite team's ballpark. It would have been a heck of a lot nicer if it was at Qualcomm, but of course Qualcomm's sadly in the stadium graveyard. But yeah, I mean, for the first, I'd say first few things I was reading, I was, a little tense, kind of, getting the nerves out. But as soon as I got to do the lineups, okay, I've done this how many times in 13 years, in this profession. It's this is the same exact thing. You just happen to be doing it for guys that you've watched on television or have watched in person, Altuve and Bregman. And of course, being able to, announce Shohei Ohtani leading off and pitching above all else in a American League ballpark. I never thought I'd be doing that and whatnot. And Sally Trout didn't play because he hurt himself the night beforehand, though. But, having the vantage point, though, and then talking to a crowd of 27,803 that night and, having, mom and dad there, friends coming up, like last minute from San Diego, friends who work for the organization as their ushers, or they work somewhere else within the ball club. And, just, and then getting, so much good stuff from guys on here, like Brandon had messaged me earlier in the day, and, Adam and Jason did, and Will Polston did, and so many, great people from coast to coast. They tuned in on Bally Sports or on Root Sports down there in Houston, or they listened on the radio or whatnot. And that was just, I think that was the coolest part, though, was just knowing that so many people, though, were, tuned in and watched, or they came up, though, at that last, at that 11th hour to come to the game. It was super, super special. Again, it's still 2 weeks in, and it's still hard to
I did that.
After 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah. Oh, that's got to be something. You're going to remember that forever. And if you keep progressing forward, now they got your name. You did
exactly.
a good job. They know you, and they're like, oh, let's bring him in on this day and this day. He could be our number 3, and then you move up to number 2, and then other people with networking and stuff.
Yeah, and that's also I think that's the beauty, I think, of this industry, though, and especially with me having known Mike and Phil. I've known Mike for a bit. He does the LA Galaxy for Major League Soccer. He got the job in a very sad story. Here was David Courtney, who had done 18 years of Angels games, but he did the LA Kings for like 25 years. He had just started doing the Clippers, I think, for like the past 5, and he sadly very unexpectedly passed away. And he was well known here in Southern California. David was on all the big radio stations for morning traffic. Then he did Angel games and the Kings and the Clippers, and was in a lot of baseball movies. I think he was in The Naked Gun. He was in 61. And
oh my gosh!
And he had passed away, sadly, and so they did open auditions, and Mike got the job. And then his main backup is actually Phil Hewlett, who I've known for a long time, because Phil does the Anaheim Ducks hockey game. So in a very cool tidbit here, I do the American League games here, the AHL games for their affiliate down here in San Diego. I've been doing that for what will be my 8th season this year. And I've known Phil basically since I got into hockey announcing, and Phil is the main backup. So, I think it helps, though, knowing those two on top of having, bosses who I also had worked with in different sports, though, as well in the past.
Wow. Very cool.
No, that definitely was cool. Kind of like I told you before, if I didn't have a fear of flying, I would have been right there in the cheap seats for you. So,
hey, Callan, is the Mighty 690 still a thing?
I believe it is. I think they're online only, and I think they're just playing music. The Mighty 1090 did come back, though, and it's now called the Mightier 1090, and they're with ESPN Radio now. But I think that like Rich Eisen's program is on there, and all that good stuff with ESPN Radio.
When I lived out there in the early 90s, I listened up in Huntington Beach, where I lived, to Jim Rome all the time. And Jim Rome was good friends with Hacksaw Reynolds. I don't know if he's still alive, but he was.
Lee Hacksaw Hamilton's still here, man. He's doing work every so often for Channel 951, and he I don't think he's on radio, but I think he's doing he does like spattering appearances on Channel.
He's pretty old now.
Yeah, he still looks like he's in pretty good shape considering.
But I would love listening to him, because he would comment on the Chargers and stuff.
Big time.
And he didn't hold back.
No.
He was like, oh man, he would just trash the ownership group. Was it Sterling? Or who was the owner back in the early 90s?
For the Chargers, it was the Spanos family. They still own the
Spanos, that's it. And oh my God, he would just ride them up and down. And then one year the Chargers started out horrible, and then they started winning games, and they ran into the playoffs and made a deep run, and he was all over it. I would listen to him and Jim Rome.
Yes, all the time.
I was a FedEx courier out there, so
there you go.
I had my radio on in the truck, and between the Jungle and him, I had a good 4 or 5 hours of good listening
Big time.
sports radio with guys that were awesome. Now I'm in Dallas, and we have a great sports radio here.
Yes.
1310 The Ticket. I want to
listen more
say
to
they're
them.
like the biggest one in the country.
They
I don't
gotta
know
be.
if they're
I
they're
think the fans are close second, though.
yeah, they're about to win another Marconi. I listen to them all the time. I think they're bigger than the Fan out of New York, and all their shows are really good. They've been around for 27 or 28 years. And, some of the guys are from the beginning, and they come on and they say, I can't believe we did this. I can't believe we're doing this. They're pretty humble,
That's
but
good, though.
it's they do a lot of bits, so I have a lot of ideas. Sometimes I do something on here. Like last year I had a burial ceremony for the men
yeah.
played Caps at the end of
He
the
did.
year with the flag
Yeah, he
and
did.
everything.
Oh, that is amazing.
So yeah,
great.
All right.
dude, I got to tell you, you got some good pipes there too.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
No, he does. He does. So moving on, let's get back to the trade talks. I mean, we've already talked about Soto. Trade speculation. I saw that the Mets are calling the Angels for Ohtani. So, Coach D, I know that would have made you happy. So, what do you think about that?
I heard that today. Okay,
Yep.
the Mets GM, Callan, you know this. The Mets GM is
Sandy
Billy
Alderson.
Kepler, right? He was with the Angels, and he went
yeah.
to Japan, and he helped get Ohtani. He knows Ohtani very well,
Big time.
and I'm like, honestly, I can't see it happen, but I would like it to happen. That'd be awesome. That's all, DH and a solid number 3, because you can't put him in front of Scherzer and
No way.
but he's their third number 1 pitcher. But that would be awesome. New York would love him. He seems like a pretty good guy. He always does the good thing. Most Japanese players are really cool, and they're very professional.
Yes. To a T.
He's I don't want to say this because he plays 2 positions. He's really awesome, but I think he gets a lot of pub just because of that.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a 260 hitter with power. He strikes out a lot, but he's gonna hit 40 home runs, drive in 100, and he'll win 10 or 12 games. Probably because the Angels are so bad. I feel the guy I feel the worst for is Trout.
Same.
The best player in baseball is on that team. I feel bad for him. I really do. He should have been on this team 15 years ago when they were in the playoffs and fighting for the World Series. He deserves to be on a good team. But Ohtani as well. If the Mets could figure out something, what's his contract like right now?
I think he's a free agent after next season, I believe.
So, and the majors may be a seller, or I mean the Angels may be a seller, because I don't know. It's I every year I can't understand why they're so bad. They're just bad, and I mean they're not 500, they're under 500. They picked up Syndergaard this year. I thought, oh man, there's 2 studs, Ohtani and Syndergaard. Syndergaard has just been okay, but it's his first year back from Tommy John, and as you guys,
and you can definitely tell he's still knocking the rust off, even this late in the year.
Oh yeah, it's the next year with Tommy John, and there's been, of course, in New York, there's rumors. Oh, he might want to come back to New York. I would love it.
Yeah, Ohtani is he's got arbitration next year, and then he's a free agent after that. So
all right, well, maybe the Mets could do something. Again, just giving up 1, maybe 2 of their prospects, because Ohtani's young. What's he like, 29?
Yeah.
28?
Late
20,
20s.
Yeah. And, he's very athletic. I love watching him hit. He has that Japanese style where they kind of, it's almost softball. They take a step and they swat it, but he's got great wrist and great power. Akira was perfect at that. I don't know why guys don't copy that, because they keep the bat level and their body's moving and they're running, especially a left-hander being close to first. But he's got pop in his bat, and hit 260, 270, 40 bombs, 110 RBIs. That's very good, And then you're a pitcher that wins 12 or 13 games with a 3.5 ERA. That's freaking good.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get to some other guys here. Wilson Contreras from the Cubs on the trading block. Last big piece of that 2016 championship. Greg, where do you see him going?
Contreras, I could see him maybe going to to Houston or something. Maybe I could see them making some kind of move for him, because he has a little bit better bat. Houston's actually got a pretty, they're pretty much a lock to win their division at this point. But I think they could use a little bit more help with a catcher that can handle the bat pretty well. So I could see him maybe going to Houston.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the Mets are kind of being talked about as well. He wouldn't command such a steep price. I would love to have him back there. Good hitter, really good defensive player, and then the Mets will have to worry about signing him, but he's going to go to I still will never understand why the Cubs did what they did 2 years ago. And,
I don't think anybody who does. I don't know.
It's like, what the heck are you doing? And this poor guy was sitting there, and now he's alone, and he's a good player. He's a teammate, plays hurt. He's a catcher, he's a catcher that hits.
Old-time catcher.
Yeah, yep.
I could see the Brewers maybe making a move for someone like Contreras or Indy or somebody as well. I think that even though they've got a small lead on my cards for that division, I think that they're wanting to add another bat in the lineup.
Yeah, I could see that. I'd like to see the Twins make a move for a backstop. Because right now I think Jeffers is on the IR, and I don't think their guys in AAA are really ready to be moved up. So that wouldn't be upset. Let's stay with the Nationals because of Soto. Josh Bell, Callan, where could you see Bell ending up?
That's a bit interesting, and I think that something that we kind of missed though earlier on in the show, guys, talking about Soto, is that I think, though I've seen a lot of things for Soto by himself, I've even heard rumblings that if Soto is going to be dealt, you're also going to be saddled with Patrick Corbin or Steven Strasburg's salary on top of getting Soto, which I think makes the trade package a little more murkier or tougher to meander and navigate, because then you'd be having to, take on, a pitcher in Strasburg who's had, a very, sad type of injury with him having nerve issues. And then Corbin has just not been the same since he came over from Arizona. But Josh Bell would be somewhat of an intriguing piece, maybe. I don't know if the Padres could use him or who could use him. Kind of quickly, though, about Ohtani being dealt, though the Angels have opened up the trade talks,
they're not going to trade him.
There's no way, because that becomes a major, major PR nightmare for that organization.
Oh, definitely.
And that would be crazy for you to trade him at all.
They're probably just saying we're going to talk to see if somebody throws something stupid at him.
Yeah.
And that's what it would take. It would take something
take.
stupid. I mean,
but it's nice to hear.
Having Ohtani and Trout in the same lineup, two of the best in baseball, to me is almost like having Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan on the same team and not being able to make the playoffs.
Comparison.
Yeah, you sit there and you wonder, how come they're not a 500 ball club? You look at the other play; they have some decent players, and it's just something there isn't
the lack of pitching. It's been something that I've been saying since 2014. You can go and get Rendon and get Pujols and Josh Hamilton, but if you can't pitch, you're not going to win games, and you can't keep relying on guys like Suarez and Sandoval and
Yep.
AAA guys from Salt Lake City to carry the load the entire season. Reed Detmers, threw a no-hitter, guys, and he's been, other than his start on Sunday, he was not the same guy. He even got demoted back after he, started against the Royals back in June. He got sent back to AAA. So if they could pitch, they'd be a heck of a lot better of a team.
And
No,
It's just a weird thing.
It's
when
very
you have
weird. I agree.
Two major all-stars, they're not barely all-stars. You pencil them in every year, and it's just when I was out there, the Angels were good. They had Salmon, Garrett Anderson,
Troy Glass, Troy Percival.
Yep. Mike Scioscia was the manager.
Oh yeah.
They had a team when I was out there. Kind of funny. They have Salmon and Trout. Maybe they need to
All
get
they do is draft
a guy
him.
called Sharp.
Yeah. So let's move on. I mean, go back to Otani. Yeah, it's going to take something ridiculous. And honestly, if I knew the Twins organization more, I'd definitely throw out something ridiculous to try to get him. But let's talk about our Reds pitcher, Luis Castillo. Where could we see him ending up, Dirk?
He's freaking good. I wouldn't, there's a bunch of teams he would go to. This trade deadline stuff is always so intriguing, and really the last 15 years,
season.
it gets more and more and more every year. Now it's such a huge deal. It's a point of the year. It's like the All-Star game, trade deadline, big days. Luis Castillo, he's freaking good. If the Reds are smart, trade him for prospects. You may not get a number one prospect, or you might get one guy number one, but trade him for a couple of AA, single A guys, 3-4 guys that are young, that show promise, that are 19, 20, 21 years old, but that won't impact you as much. I'd love to see him in the Mets uniform. I'd like to see him in a Rangers uniform. The Rangers could maybe swing something. I don't know if they're going to be active. The Rangers are stuff, but it's and of course, then there's the teams that are hunting the playoffs that would want another pitcher, like the Padres might need him.
And to your point, he's been into a point though. He's been linked for not even this season, but last season he was linked to San Diego, and I think to Dirk's point though, and even Minnesota. And I think what's killed Castillo, sadly, guys, is that ballpark he's been pitching in, because I think we all know that Great American Ballpark is a bandbox, much like Minute Maid Park in Houston. You hit a pop fly, it's going over the wall at that ballpark. So I think that, maybe teams have been reluctant, maybe perhaps because of, his numbers are like this at home, though. Can we trust him? It's like, oh, yeah, I think you can, because he's pitching in Cincinnati. That ballpark is what it is. But, San Diego's been.
Yeah, if his numbers are good at home.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
If he's a 3.5 ERA at home, he's probably under 3 away, and
easily.
It's just things like that. Yeah, he's another interesting guy, maybe Boston.
Boston would be kind of intriguing, I think.
Boston got hot. They kind of got back close to the Yankees. They're over 5. They're playing better. I kind of like the Red Sox too. They're just the history of that team, and they're a team that maybe, I don't know what their minor league is like, and I always think you're going to trade for a guy like this with minor leaguers. Maybe
even draft picks or cash, or players to be named later.
Maybe one regular. Okay, we don't have a good defensive second baseman, and you got a guy that hits 260 but got a great glove, and he's got 8 home runs, 35 RBIs, so he's not an out at the bat. You could maybe solidify. You got a great shortstop, not a good second baseman. You put a good glove in there, and you get some like defensive contagiousy. Tried to make up a word.
All right.
know what you
So,
mean.
so we got a few minutes left here. Dirk, you wanted to bring up fans, and I kind of think we're all going to be in agreement. I mean, unless you got something different, but what did you want to talk about?
Okay. I grew up in New York. I'm a Cowboys fan from New York. I live in Texas now. Lived here 30 years. I've always been a Mets fan, right? And on the back end, I'm a Mavericks fan, and I like the Stars, you know. But
Yeah, man.
overall, the two big sports, you know, which fans. And I think this might have to do because I coach baseball, so I always try to be positive. I follow SNY New York's fan page. They follow the Mets, okay? 60 to 70% of the comments are so negative. Nito sucks. McCann sucks. JD Davis can't hit. They suck. They are horrible. They're in freaking first place.
What
I
more
don't-
do you
I
people
don't
want?
Get it. I really don't. A good friend of mine, he's a lifelong Mets fan, grew up in Queens, right? He commented today for the first time ever, and I think he was being sarcastic, but he put something out there. He said, Thomas Nito, their catcher, is due to get hot. I almost said to him, are you high? What's wrong with you? Because he's on, he calls McCann McCan't and Nito needless. And he's always picking on the things like, the heck with the regular lineup, who is great. You know, he was on Lindor last year, big time. You know, he's not what, okay, he's young, you know. So this year he's not on Lindor because he's going to hit around 28, 30 home runs to drive in 110. Would like to see the batting average around 270, 280. He has hit 300 in his career, but I think he's more of a 270, 280 hitter because he chases too many dang pitches. That's his issue. But I'll take 245 with 28 home runs and 110 RBIs. You know, and my thing with him is he shouldn't be in the number 3 spot because he has like a 320 on base percentage. If he had 380, yeah, put him in number 3, you know, but you know, you would think with Polar Bear behind him, they would pitch to him, but I think he chases too many pitches, and everybody knows that, so they don't give him nothing to hit. But as far as fans, Cowboy fans, it's the same way. They're mostly negative. I'm like, you
Not
know,
Chris. Not Chris.
I pointed at you last week.
I know.
Because it's like Ranger fans are the same way. Woodward sucks. You know, they need to trade John. They need to get rid of John Daniels. You know, and I'm in my head, I'm like, compared to last year and to this year, this team is 100% different. And all the players, with the exception of a couple, are freaking young. And they're good. Jonah Heim at catcher should have been an all-star. Josh Smith in the outfield. He's great. You know, they have some pop and some good hitters. You know, Seager and Simeon have kind of come up a little, and they're doing what they should do, you know. And, you know, they're pitching, which is always the Rangers' problems. You know, Martin Perez, he's one of these guys. I think he's finally figured it out after 10 years. And you see a lot of major league pitchers hit 31, 32, 33, and all of a sudden figure it out. Martin Perez's problem used to be when he came up, he was really good, but then he'd have 2 or 3 bad games. His problem was his confidence and getting upset. He's more mature now. He doesn't get mad. He keeps throwing that nasty changeup, you know, and everything. The Rangers are playing around 500. They're like 5 games under. Hey, if they get hot, wild card, you know, but their relief pitching is a thing.
Yeah.
You know, and the fans just keep picking on the wrong things. I find myself, I'm a positive fan. I will say, well, Garcia plays good. You know, Martin Perez is good. We've got a good, I don't know what to make of Woodward as a manager because he's never had good players. How can you?
Exactly.
The manager can't make a guy hit 300. The manager has to keep a positive attitude. It's just, it's thing. Mets fans, even Yankee fans, okay, they put out all kinds of negative stuff, and I'm like, what the freak? What are you a fan? Yes, I'm a diehard fan. Say something positive, like have y'all? I'll bet Callan has. Have Chris and Big B? Have you ever heard of the 7-Line Army from the Mets?
I have.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm following their website. It's all, yes, you can go overboard with being your fan, like, oh, we never lose, and you lose 150 games. But the 7-Line Army, I'm going to go to a freaking game. I want to be a part of that. They get like 2,000 people buy out sections.
It's like a soccer supporters group.
Yes, it's awesome. Quick story. A couple years ago, it was September, the Mets were out, but they were in Boston playing the Red Sox. The 7-Line Army was there, right? And I saw on video and websites, they're walking around Fenway, they're buying stuff. Well, they had the whole right field section behind right field, behind their bullpen, and it's all orange, right? It was great. Well, like
that happened when Bartolo ended James Shields' Padre career in 2016. And he hit the home run at Petco.
Yeah, I know. Oh my God! Like 2 minutes.
I was at home watching the game, and I'm just like, "Oh my goodness! Look at all that orange behind the Mets dugout."
But so this was the most amazing thing. Jacob deGrom was pitching. It was like a 2-1 game. It was the 5th or 6th inning, and the announcers are going like, "What?" You could hear it in the background, and I thought the fans were yelling, "Yankees suck."
Yep.
And the announcer's like, there's a cheer going in the outfield with the Red Sox fans and the Mets fans yelling, "Yankees suck." And I thought that was the greatest thing ever.
That happened at an NHL game I went to this March. It was Boston and it was the Bruins and the Kings playing at Crypto.com Arena, 7-0. But during the game, Kings fans and Bruins fans all started yelling, "Yankees suck." It was one of the best things I've ever seen at a hockey game.
I love it. Oh my God.
It was incredible.
I can imagine the Yankees are like in Seattle and they're looking around and they're like, something weird is going on. And somebody's talking about it. It was my favorite moment of that year. Oh my God, I want to go because I'll bet they do it every game.
All right. No, good topic
awesome.
there. Good topic. Cal, what do you got to add? What do you think about fans? And I mean, we know a big delusional fan that we talk to quite a bit. So
yeah, I mean, we do, but then again, I'm probably like the most underqualified to talk about fans, because San Diego, all we have left is the Padres, and for many years it was like, yay, the Padres are playing, yay, we lose again, and now all of a sudden we actually get good, and now people start caring, and again, to their credit, give their thoughts, good, bad, ugly, or indifferent, though. And I think, though, sometimes it kind of, I think, is just unrealistic expectations that sometimes come with it, because I think you're only as good as you can be. And, I've been kind of thinking about this because, I don't, other than the 1998 season and maybe 05 and 06 and 2010, those are like in 2020, obviously, I think for 5 seasons of my life being a baseball fan that the Padres were actually good. And all those other years we're watching, prospects playing and age veterans play. And now all of a sudden, with Hosmer, Machado, Tatis, obviously, that, everything is, all goody two shoes when we win, though. But then, to Coach Dirk's point, though, when we lose, it's like, trade this guy, fire the manager, fire the GM. It's like, and I think, though, Dirk, and I think this goes to Dirk's point, though, a lot of times, though, that it's more along the lines of a fan base who goes to games just to, have a night out, party it up, hang out with their friends or family. But also, I think, though, and I've long said this, and I've never said it till now, a lot of times it's fans who have never played the game that don't know the struggle of a long season or a season in general. They're just, like I said, they're just out there to have a good time, but they never have been in the dugout amongst the team, though, who's gone through win streaks, losing streaks, back to, long seasons and 100+ loss, and I was on teams like that. And again, I only played till high school. I had, my college offer and a couple of major league scouts, though. But even in travel ball, even in rec ball, you go through those, seasons where, you cared about wins and losses, but you were there just to play for the love of the game, though. Yeah. I think a lot of times, though, that fans wear their hearts on their sleeves, though. And I think in any sport, though, but a lot of times, though, it's that part of the fan base, though, to Dirk's point, who's never actually put on a baseball jersey or is actually not on the field, though. They're just out there. That they're playing armchair manager and armchair media member, armchair GM, though.
Monday morning quarterback.
Yeah, Monday morning quarterback, armchair referee or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. And that they don't fully grasp the nature of the game, where in Dirk's case and in my case, Brandon, and even in your case, you've been on those teams before. You've coached those teams. You've played for those, those teams who have won it all, or they've been in the cellar and they've had bad seasons. So, I get the whole ordeal, though, about it, but sometimes I think it's just more of it's that part of the fan base, though, with any sport, any team, any level, who's more inclined to go to a game to, have some social sparklers, eat all the food at the ballpark, buy all the merch, and act like, they're the team's number one fan, though. But then when it comes down to stuff, like what Dirk was saying, though, they don't understand the nitty-grittiness of putting together a lineup card. They don't understand the nature of making a pitching change at a certain time, though, because they have not been in that, situation in their.
They've never thought about those.
They never have, because all they see is. Because all they do is they read the box score and they call in the talk radio and say, well, Hosmer did this, Machado did this, trade him, what? Yeah. It's like, plus, stop.
Plus, I think a lot of it has to, it's easier to pick apart the negativity.
Oh, absolutely. Especially after you lose the game, for sure.
It's like, oh, he made an error. He sucks, and it's like.
But have you been in that position before? I don't think so.
103-mile-an-hour line drive,
my whole thing on the whole fan thing is I get called a bandwagon fan all the time because I'll sit here and talk down about the Twins, the Vikings, all the Minnesota teams, and I'll talk good about them, and they're like, "Oh, you're just a bandwagon fan." It's like, but I'm pointing out the negativity on the team and what they need to improve. Yeah, I'll give them.
You're not riding the coattails of the Yankees or some other team who always wins no matter what.
It was ridiculous a lot when when Mauer was playing and he would be 0 for 15 over the last 4 games, and they'd be like, "Oh, he's just struggling," and then one game he's like 3 for 3 or 3 for 4. They're like, "Oh, he's back. He's MVP status." Like, come on, it's one game after going 0 for 15. So fans
long season.
Yeah, exactly. So with that being said, we gave you guys a little bit of extra time. So I want to thank Callan. I want to thank Coach D, Greg, and Chris both had to leave early. So check us out next week. We'll break down some trades that happened, if any.
Come on, we want some action, baby. We want some action.
Yeah, we're going to see some. So with that being said,
Soto to the Pirates.
Wow.
Bombshell right there if that happens.
Yeah. With that being said, join us next week on Deck. Have a good one.
Good night, all. Let's go, Mets.